Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am talking all about the best makeup products that enhance your natural beauty. So these are what I like to call complexion enhancers, skin enhancers, or they're just products that enhance your appearance, make you look a little bit better. So this is definitely not no makeup makeup. I would say it's like one step above no makeup makeup, but it allows your skin to still shine. These are products that really just enhance your natural beauty and just make you look more put together, but it's not an over-the-top makeup look. Like, there is nothing glittery in these products. They're not the type of products where you notice the makeup. These are products where people kind of compliment your skin and say that your skin looks really good or you look really good versus the makeup you are wearing looks good. And that's just my preference. So I thought this would be a fun video. And I am going to kind of mention a full face of products, even though I will say there's more complexion products here than there are eye products, just because, of course, if we're talking about like things enhancing your appearance, I think the skin is definitely the most important thing. So I'm going to start with the complexion. This is something I've talked about in so many videos, so I'm sorry if you are tired of hearing about it, but this is just such a standout product. This is now a hero product in my collection. This is just something I use on a daily basis, but this is a skin enhancing, complexion boosting product. This is the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint. So it comes in this little container. Now you do have to use your fingers, or I guess you could use a spatula to get it out of this pot. I don't mind because I always clean my hands before I apply makeup. And this just makes for an excellent makeup primer, especially under the eyes. This is something that I can put all over the face, but I love it for under the eyes, especially kind of as I would almost say a replacement for eye cream, or you can use it in place of eye cream, or just use it to prep your skin before you apply concealer. And this has made such a difference in my concealer application. I have very dry under eyes, and a lot of the times concealers, they do have the tendency to settle a little bit, or they just look a little bit dry under my eyes, but this has been such a game changer for me. It just makes such a difference. And what it allows me to do as well is because it has a really, really soft pink tint to it, I feel like it looks more pink in this container than it actually does on the skin, but it brightens the under eyes. It adds this very soft glow, but it has these light particles in it that reflect the light. So it adds this blurring capability, which therefore allows me to go in with less concealer over top. Therefore, it acts as a complexion enhancer because it just allows me to go in with less product over top. I really like to use this all over the face now that the months are a little bit cooler, so that means that it's a little bit drier out. My skin is very dry. This is great to use all over the face as well as a primer because, again, it adds that blurring capability and just allows me to go over top with less foundation. Such a good product, and this is definitely one of the best skin enhancers. Now, moving on to foundation, this was something I really tried to narrow it down to just one product, but I have so many foundations that I feel like really enhance the skin, just make your complexion look better without it being like a full coverage, heavy makeup look. So I'm going to mention three. If you're looking for something that's really light coverage, this is the Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation in the shade Vanilla. This is my perfect shade. And I love this because it is virtually undetectable on the skin. This is something that you can really build on the skin and you can't see makeup sitting on the skin. So I guess this would be kind of considered a no makeup product. I am hesitant to say it's completely no makeup, but it is probably the most undetectable foundation product you can get away with. It's even better than I would say most tinted moisturizers. Sometimes you can just see that you have a little bit of something on your skin, but this is one of the most undetectable products, and it's something that I reach for when I just want my skin to be enhanced, when I want a little boost, where I still want to look like me, but I want to look like a better version of myself. I guess that would be another good name for this, like products I use to look like a better version of myself. You can build this up, but you are never going to go past a medium coverage. This just does not build to a very full coverage at all. So if you are someone that suffers from like melasma, or you have discoloration or post blemish marks, you will need to go in with an additional concealer. But for how this looks on the skin and just how skin-like and beautiful this is, I would highly suggest this product. For me, this lasts all day long, but I also do have dry skin. It doesn't get shiny or oily. It doesn't break up throughout the day. This is just one of the best foundations on the market if you just want your skin to shine if you are looking just for a better version of your skin. This is so great. The other product I want to mention, which is like a step above that Chantecaille Future Skin, is the Dior Super Potent Serum Foundation. I wear mine in the shade 3N. I'm probably actually a 2N, and now that I'm not self-tanning as much. But I love this foundation, and like I said, it's like a step above this Chantecaille Future Skin. So this has a little bit more coverage. This is also more of a velvet finish, and this does the absolute best job at just blurring the skin. So if you want your skin to look like just an enhanced version of your skin, but you also want that blurring capability where you almost look like you have a filter put over your skin, this is fantastic. I would say you could probably build this to medium coverage, but you can't really build it past that. This is definitely something where you can see your skin shining through. So again, if you do require more coverage, you will need to go in with a facial concealer. But this is just so beautiful. This is one of the most long-wearing foundations that I have in my collection. It also wears beautifully no matter what season. So sometimes I find that I reach for different foundations depending if it's winter or summer. But this I can use all year long, and it always wears beautifully. It always remains just as beautiful no matter what environment I put it through. It's so, so great. So I just love everything about this, the longevity, how it looks on the skin, how it wears. It's such a great one. And then the last one I want to mention is the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. One of the best. I would say this has like the fullest coverage out of all of them, but again, this is like a medium coverage foundation. This is definitely more skin-like than this Dior Capture Totale. And I mean that where the Dior Capture Totale is more of a velvet finish, where this has a bit more of a glow to it. So if you are someone with drier skin, this would be a fantastic option. This just has an ever so slight radiant to it. But again, even though it has a slight radiance to it, it is very blurring on the skin and quite perfecting, and it's just beautiful. So this is a foundation I tend to use more for when I'm going out, because even though it has a bit more coverage than these two options, it doesn't look makeup-y on the skin. It doesn't look heavy. It's a beautiful in-person foundation where your skin just shines through and your skin just looks like the best version of skin. And again, you'll get compliments on you looking beautiful versus people saying your makeup looks really beautiful. And I just love that. This gives me such a beautiful like candlelit glow, which is why I think I like to use it in the evenings. I don't know why I feel like this is an evening foundation. You could obviously use it for every day, and it is so expensive that you might want to use it for every day. But this is kind of like my special occasion foundation just because it's sophisticated. I feel like I should also mention the Chanel Water Fresh Tint, just because you could almost replace this as the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint if you want to go in with something that is a priming product. So I typically like to use this either as a foundation on a no makeup day, so this is truly no makeup, or I use this as a primer underneath foundations because this blurs the skin. It adds a very sheer tint of coverage. It is undetectable on the skin completely. It does not look like you are wearing any makeup whatsoever. But if I use this underneath one of the other foundations I mentioned, then I can use even less foundations. So say I go in with a pump of the Chanel Water Fresh Tint, I might only require half a pump of the Chanel Sublimage versus using a full pump of this, which I normally would. So that's just another way to really make your skin look more like skin, is using a product like this as a primer. And again, it does kind of a similar job to the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint, where it blurs, it perfects, it brightens the skin, it smooths the canvas to allow for makeup application over top, and it allows you to go in with less product, therefore making you look like you are wearing less makeup. So I love that as well. But going on to concealer, now this is marketed as I guess it was supposed to be the concealer version of this Chanel Water Fresh Tint, but this is the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. I wear mine in the shade B30, and this is so good for just a skin enhancing concealer because underneath the eyes, it just gives a very lovely boost of hydration, but it adds a nice amount of coverage. This does have more coverage than the Chanel Water Fresh Tint. I would say this is sheer coverage, sheer to light coverage. This is light buildable to medium coverage. So I like this for under the eyes because I can get more of a medium coverage. And when it comes to my skin, my biggest issue of concern is my under eyes. I have a little bit of a darker under eye area. And so I do require something with just a little bit more coverage, but I don't usually like to go for something super full coverage. But I love this Chanel Water Fresh Complexion Touch because it adds hydration to my under eyes. And again, like I said, I have very dry under eyes. So this wears very comfortably on my under eyes. I never get any creasing, I never get any settling in the under eye area. This wears very beautifully, and it just wears so gorgeous throughout the day. Typically, like I said, I have a problem where sometimes at the end of the day, my concealers will look a little bit dry just because I have dry skin, but this never does. It always just looks very, very skin-like, even though it has more of a light to medium coverage, but it's still less coverage than some of the typical under eye concealers on the market. So this is, again, just a really gorgeous skin enhancing concealer because it doesn't look too makeupy, it doesn't look too heavy at all. But sometimes I will require just a little bit more coverage, just right in that area where I'm really dark. And for that purpose, I am absolutely just loving the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence. Nope, it's the Chanel Sublimage Le Corrector U. So this is the corrector concealer version of the Chanel Sublimage foundation. I love this as a concealer. So again, when I go in with the Water Fresh tint, I'll just apply a little bit on under the eyes just to brighten that area. And this is more of definitely a medium buildable to full coverage concealer, which is why you just require such a little amount. And because I go in with such a little amount, it does not look heavy or makeupy on the under eye area. And again, it just enhances the skin and makes you look even more beautiful without it being detectable makeup. Let's talk about bronzer. So for bronzing products, a clear winner to me was the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint. I almost feel like this could be considered a no makeup product just because it's virtually undetectable on the skin, and it is one of the most gorgeous bronzing products, especially a cream bronzer. Now, I wanted to mention the Chanel cream bronzer, and I really like that product, but because of the reformulation, they added some ingredients in it which are not great for sensitive skin. So I can't use that product every day because I will get a reaction to it. I will break out or my skin just becomes very irritated. So this is a replacement for that product. Even though, again, I really like the Chanel product, it's just not a product I can use on a daily basis. And this product I can use on a daily basis, but this is even more natural and skin-like than the Chanel cream bronzer, the what's it called? The Beige cream bronzer, I think it's what it's called now. This is even more undetectable on the skin and even more natural. And I actually think it's a little bit easier to blend. Even though when you look at this product, it looks really intimidating because it looks quite dark, but it shears out onto the skin in such a lovely way. It's one of the best formulas that I have had the pleasure to work with. And again, it's very skin enhancing because it adds such a sheer tint of coverage that it doesn't add actually coverage to your skin. It adds just a little bit of color to the skin, and it's a really nice bronzing color for me. It is definitely a warmer bronzer tone, but I love this because it's basically the easiest cream bronzer that I have ever blended to my skin. It almost blends itself. Like I said, it almost requires no effort to blend into the skin. It really fuses into the skin and looks very natural. So this is a very skin enhancing bronzer where your complexion just looks better when you apply this. You can also use this all over the face, kind of as a priming product as well. And this is such a great bronzer because it does have a blurring capability to it. So when you apply it onto the skin, you will see that your skin looks more filtered and blurred, but you also get a beautiful bronzed effect on the skin as well. This is just a holy grail cream bronzer for me. Sometimes I find cream bronzers finicky to work with, but this is not finicky to work with at all. It's very, very, very blendable, very easy to blend. If you're a beginner, this is the type of cream bronzer I would recommend. I wanted to mention a powder bronzer as well because I just feel like the ease of application with bronzing products is typically what I tend to pull for. And this Valentino bronzer, guys, this is so good. I know it is sold out in the US currently. Hopefully it will come back in stock, and please do not buy the full packaging because that is ridiculously expensive to buy this packaging. Buy the refill when it comes back in stock because it's just the best bronzer that I feel like I have tried. Such a fantastic formula. It is so creamy. It is so easy to blend. Like I said, it does have a decent amount of pigmentation to it. So you just need to make sure that when you go in with your bronzing brush, you are tapping off that excess product and then going onto the skin. But the finish of this, the just effect it has on the skin, it's such a great formula. It isn't a completely matte bronzer. It does have a little bit of a sheen, but no detectable shimmer particles. And again, it just enhances the complexion. It makes my complexion look even better without it looking like I've applied bronzer on the skin or detectable bronzer. And I've had questions about this in comparison to the Gucci bronzer. And honestly, the formulas are very similar. I would say this Valentino bronzer is even creamier in formula, a little bit easier to blend because the Gucci I feel like is just a bit more pigmented. And I prefer this finish of this Valentino bronzer because the Gucci bronzer has shimmer particles on it, that you can see sitting on your skin, which I just don't really like. And I like this because you can't actually see those shimmer particles and you can't detect the bronzer on the skin, especially once it's buffed into the skin. So it's very beautiful. This is a great skin enhancing bronzer that makes your complexion look better, that just enhances your appearance. And because that Valentino bronzer sold out, I just wanted to quickly mention second place, I guess you could say. This is the Chantecaille Sirena, the shade Sirena. This is the Real Bronze bronzer. So this is a baked gelée bronzer. This is kind of a it's a powder to cream formula, I would say. It applies onto the skin like a powder would, but it melts into the skin like a cream product would. So this is, again, almost one of those undetectable bronzers because it gives you that bronzing effect without it looking like a stark bronzer applied to your skin. It just makes your skin glow. It gives you that beautiful dimension back to your skin, that nice bronze glow, but it doesn't look like detectable makeup. So it just enhances your beauty and makes you look even better when you apply this sort of product because it just really melts into the skin. So this is another fantastic product. I would say how these products sit on the skin, the Valentino and Chantecaille products are very, very similar, but the Chantecaille bronzer, you need to build up more. It is not as pigmented, so you need to use a dense brush to apply the bronzer to get the amount of pigment, but there is the Chantecaille bronzer and there's the Valentino. So once you get that Chantecaille bronzer built up onto the skin, the effect is very similar. They almost have the same amount of sheen in them as well. But I would just say the Valentino is a typical powder bronzer, so it's really easy to pick up and blend. The Chantecaille bronzer, you're just going to need a dense brush, a heavier hand to apply it. So you can really dip into this product and not worry about it looking heavy on the skin because it's just less pigmented. I just realized I completely forgot to mention facial concealers because like I mentioned, those foundations, while they are beauty enhancing foundations, they don't have full coverage, so you will require a fuller coverage facial concealer if you are looking to cover up any discoloration in just specific areas versus applying like a full coverage foundation all over your face and hiding your skin, letting your skin shine through, but just going in specific areas with fuller coverage. This Clé de Peau, it's called the concealer, and it is the concealer because this is perfect for anyone that suffers from melasma, discoloration, post-blemish marks, like I said, because this has a really nice amount of coverage to it, but it's a concealer that has really great coverage without it sitting on top of the skin. So it's a very creamy concealer, and it really has that capability where it just becomes one on the skin. It infuses on the skin and doesn't look like concealer sitting on top of the skin. Or, you know, sometimes if you see someone where they are trying to cover up a spot and you can like clearly detect the concealer on their face because it's just very obvious where they've applied it. This really melts into the skin. It never moves. Sometimes with creamier concealers, they either move or they change color throughout the day. This does not do that. Once it is on the skin, it is not going to move. So really great if you are someone that suffers from discoloration. Now we're talking about blush and my favorite complexion enhancing products. Blush is such an important step and probably the one that I would place the most importance on because blush brings youthfulness back to your complexion. It brings life back. It just makes your look more complete. It makes you just look more, like I said, vibrant and younger and youthful. And it really does make a difference in the complexion. So my favorite complexion enhancing blushes are, to start off with, an old favorite. This is the Clé de Peau Blush Duo, the Powder Blush Duo Refill in the shade number 105. So you can buy a separate case. I just have the refill. I really need to buy the case, but you can just get a refill if you don't want to spend money on the case. But this is such a beautiful product. These are pigmented powders, but they're such a creamy formula. They actually really remind me a lot of the Valentino bronzer with how creamy they are. Very, very finely milled, and they have like a very elegant shimmer to them. They're not completely matte. They have an ever so soft sheen, but don't worry, there are no detectable shimmer particles because again, I do not like that, but it just isn't a completely matte product. My favorite thing about this is how it just melds and melts into the skin, where it just kind of infuses. Probably one of those formulas that is like a powder to cream product where it just really adheres and melts into the skin. And it just is so gorgeous. And I love this color duo. because we have this very neutral nude rose shade. I want to say it's like a rose buddy shade. Gorgeous because it enhances your complexion, just makes your complexion look even better. And then there's just this peachy tone here, which really adds, it's a very subtle bright color. Like, I would not call this a bright color, but it just adds a little bit of a pop if you want it. And the formula of these, like, if you haven't tried these, oh, they're just so soft when you touch them. Love this formula. Love how this enhances my complexion. And then a new favorite for me is the Valentino blushes. These are one of the best products. Gotta find my favorite one. So I was so shocked by these. I don't know why I didn't think these would be that great. I think it's because I heard some people review them and say that they had detectable shimmer. And maybe that's dependent on the shade that you pick up. But these, I could not see a shimmer sitting on the skin. And these just really, they do enhance the complexion. And every time I wear this blush, specifically this shade, this is called Roman Sky, and it is number 8. So this is the Valentino Eye to Cheek dual use blush and shadow. So you can use it as an eyeshadow. I've never used it as an eyeshadow. I just use it as a blush. But again, very unique formula because it feels very creamy, very reminiscent again of a powder to cream formula where it applies onto the skin like a powder, but it melts into the skin like a cream. And this shade is so beautiful. This is definitely more of a punchy color than I'm used to. I tend to like very nude shades. But this just brings life back to my complexion. It enhances my skin in such a beautiful way and such a special way that I feel like no other blushes have been able to do for me. I am truly wowed by this formula, and truly every time I wear it, I am so amazed with how it looks on my skin. It just always makes my complexion look better, brings that youthfulness back. One of my favorite beauty enhancing products in my collection. And then if you are looking for something that is just completely, actually, it's not completely matte, but it's as close to matte as I want to go without making my skin look dry. These are the Gucci Blush de Beauté Cheeks and Eyes Powder, and it's a luminous matte formula. So this is the shade Rosy Beige. I love this formula so much. Again, it really enhances the complexion because when you apply it, it adds a really nice pop of color without it being obnoxious. They're very easy to blend. This is a very buildable formula. This one I would say is the most matte in comparison to the other two. The Clé de Peau and Valentino blushes have a very similar finish with just a very soft glow. But this is an almost matte formula. There's just a slight glow to this. And I think it's just because the formula is creamy versus there actually being a sheen to this blush. So if you are someone that prefers matte blushes, but you want a complexion enhancing blush, this is the formula I would recommend. And if you are someone that does prefer a glow to your blushes, then I would recommend the Clé de Peau or Valentino. But again, it's a glow without detectable shimmer particles. And highlighter, this was an easy choice for me, but I also need to find a permanent option because I don't know what I'm gonna do when this sells out. But this is the Chantecaille Lotus Radiance highlighter. I almost didn't pick this up, but you guys wanted to see a review on this one, so I decided to purchase it, and I'm so happy because it is my favorite highlighter that I have in my collection. And I really enjoy it because it's not like a typical highlighter where you add it to your skin. And I feel like with most highlighters that are really popular, it's that type of highlighter where you apply it and someone in person would say, oh, I really like your highlighter. But I don't necessarily want that. When I go out, I want just my complexion to look really good, and I want people to say, oh, your skin looks really nice, versus, like I said, the makeup on your skin looking nice. And this is the type of product where you apply it, and people will say, you look really beautiful, or your complexion looks really nice, versus, again, the highlighter you are wearing looks nice, because this virtually does not look like highlighter. It's a very powdery highlight. So if you're someone that doesn't like a powdery highlight, you won't like this. It's almost just a powder with a little bit of sheen versus it being a normal highlighter. Like when you apply it, it almost just looks like a facial powder that just has a bit of a sheen to it. But that's what I love the most about it. It adds structure back to the skin and it brings forward those features. So when you're thinking about a highlighting product, you want a highlighter that's a bit brighter than your skin tone, or in this case, like a powder that's a bit brighter than your skin tone, because it will bring forward those features and make those features stand out a little bit more, which is why I really like to apply this type of product on the tops of my cheekbones, maybe down the center of my nose and Cupid's bow, because it brings those features forward and just allows for more dimension on the skin and allows those features to stand out and look really gorgeous. and it honestly just, it adds that structure back to the skin where it makes your skin more natural. Kind of like when you add a bronzer to the skin, it can actually make your skin look more natural. This product does it without it being an obvious highlighter on your skin. So I absolutely love that. Now when it comes to powder, I feel like you guys will know this is coming. This is the Chantecaille Lotus Perfect Blur Glow Powder. I love this to buff in my makeup at the end. So I will take the Sonia G, I think this is called the buffing brush now. Again, it will be linked down below. I take a little bit of this powder on this buffing brush. If you're someone that prefers not to add powder, just go in with a buffing brush, buff over the edges of your makeup. This adds a really nice glow to your skin, again, without it being detectable shimmer. You can honestly use this glow powder as a replacement for the Lotus Radiance highlighter. I would say they're a little bit different because this has even less of a sheen and it is less of a powdery product. It's almost a bit harder pressed, so it's a little harder to pick up. So you just need a more dense brush and a heavier hand to pick up this type of product. But this just adds glow back to the skin, and every time I wear it, it just enhances the makeup look that I am wearing. So again, it is a natural beauty enhancing product because whenever I use this, it just makes the end product of my makeup application look even better. And then I promise this is the last complexion product, but when I was thinking of powder products, I would say my favorite complexion enhancing powder is probably this Clé de Peau Refining Pressed Powder, because this is something that just blurs the skin. So when I want to set my makeup, I will just apply a little bit of this just to the center of my face, where basically where my pores are, right in this area, because this adds a filtered effect to your skin. This makes your skin look instantly filtered and blurred without adding coverage to the skin. So I really like this to just enhance the look because, again, I'm not adding coverage or anything. I'm just blurring that area. And this just always makes my skin look like a better version of itself. Now, moving on to the eye products, and I wanted to keep this short and sweet because I felt like the focus of this video was definitely on complexion products. And for me, my favorite natural beauty enhancing products for the eyes are these Chantecaille Mermaid eye colors. So I have a matte shade and then a shimmer shade. The matte shade that is my favorite is the shade Sylvie because it is just a beautiful neutral brown. Now this is called a matte shade, but it's, again, there's like an ever so soft sheen to it, very similar to the Valentino bronzer and blush. It has that very creamy formulation to it where it's a powder to cream formula. If you're someone with mature eyes, you would absolutely love this formula because it has that creamy quality to it. So it doesn't emphasize texture on the eyes, and it really just melts into the skin and just gives such a beautiful glow without it being like an over-the-top makeup product, which I really like for just enhancing products that just enhance your natural beauty because it's not noticeable makeup. And then I like to I'll add this onto the lid. And again, I did film a get ready with me, so you will see that later. But I like to just add this to the lid and the crease. And then to top it off with just a little bit of sheen, just because I'm someone that does like a little bit of shimmer, but I don't like a metallic finish. I like something that is more of a sheen, that's just a straight up satin formula. And this is my favorite kind of satin eyeshadow. No glitter particles, no shimmer particles. This just gives a glow. Now this is the Mermaid eye color in the shade Copper. And if you can see, it just gives that beautiful glossy look to the eyes. It looks so gorgeous. Another product that looks like you've applied a cream eyeshadow. It just melts into the eyes, gives a beautiful glow without it being makeup that's over the top. I really like that when I'm just trying to emphasize my natural beauty or enhance my natural beauty. These are the type of products I go for because they're not obvious makeup looks. They're just those very subtle touches to your makeup that just make you look even more beautiful, which I just love. And another kind of creamy product that's really enjoyable is this Westman Atelier eye pod in the shade Tabac. These actually are sold as singles now, so I just picked up the single because none of the other colors really interested me, to be honest. And this is a beautiful, just neutral bronze shade. So if you're just looking for a lovely one and done, again, it's a very creamy formula, but it's almost a little stiffer than the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color. So you need to use a little bit of I want to say like a heavier finger application to get that product payoff. But it does offer just a beautiful sheen. Again, kind of gives that glossy lid effect, but it's even less of a sheen than the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color. And it's just a really nice neutral bronze shade. And then for eyeliner, when I'm looking for that natural look, where I just want to enhance my natural beauty, the eyeliner I reach for is the Hourglass Voyer Waterproof Gel Eyeliner. And I specifically use this just to tightline in the upper waterline. So I don't put it in my lower waterline, just the upper waterline, and I don't also put it on the lash line. This is just what I use to tightline, and I really like this shade Cave because it's a brown shade. So it's just a little bit more natural than a black, but you can see it's quite a rich brown. So it still gives you definition. It still allows you to cover up that separation from your eye to your mascara, because it kind of just looks awkward if you have that gap. But it's more subtle than a black. It's a little less harsh. So for me, I really like this when I'm looking for a more natural makeup look. And then moving on to lips, and I honestly only have one lip product because this is just a lip product that screamed enhancing your natural beauty, and these are the Chantecaille Lip Cheeks. I have two shades here in Bourbon Rose and Patience, and I wanted to mention two shades because Patience is a really gorgeous nude shade, so it's almost like a My Lips But Better shade, maybe just a little bit paler than my lips. This works really well for me, but if you are someone that's more mature and maybe your lip color has faded a little bit, because as we age, the pigment in our lips does fade, I would go for something with a little bit that has a little bit more pigment that's not a straight up nude, because this might actually dull your lip color down too much. But something that has a little bit more color, but is still a My Lips But Better shade, it will just give your lips a bit more pigmentation, is the shade Bourbon Rose. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is kind of like a rosebuddy shade, but it's very, very sheer pigment. And so it just gives your lips just a little bit of color and a little bit of life, and it's one of the best formulas because it's like putting on a lip balm. That's how comfortable it is. And once you've worn this, it's the type of lip product where your lips actually feel better once you've worn it for a few hours, versus a lot of lip products, after it's worn away, your lips just feel dry and like you need to apply a lip balm or something. But these are so comfortable. Your lips actually feel better once they have worn off. Fantastic formula because they are so sheer. They just give your lips a little bit of something, but it's not over the top. It's not too glossy of a formula where you have like lip gloss glooping everywhere. And it's definitely not matte, and it's definitely not long wearing. You're gonna have to touch up. But these just make my lips look even better without it being like a noticeable lips product on your lips, sitting on your lips. Like I said, I kind of like my lip products to kind of be lived in, and this just really always makes my lips look better. So those are my favorite lip products that just enhance your natural beauty. But that is all the products I have to mention. I hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. Please let me know down below your favorite complexion enhancing products, or the products that you use to just enhance your natural beauty that make you feel even better without it being like noticeable makeup on your skin. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.